Hi everyone, this is Bastian from the Canine Way. It has been a few months since the last video and I want to apologize for that. I really aim to do these videos regularly and make them available so that hopefully they can be of help and support to you. Today I would like to look a bit at the human-canine communication breakdown, which is one of the biggest issues really there is, because we really can't help it. What we tend to do, we talk to dogs as if they are human. We explain, we reason, we tell them how our day was, and that's fine if you just want to emotionally express something or get things off your chest, as if you would to another person. But don't expect that the dog understands what you're telling him. It's a whole different story if you want to teach behavior or if you want to create boundaries or clarity around what's expected of the dog and what's not. If we carry on talking a lot and using lots of words, when we do that, we just utterly confuse the dog. There's no way the dog will learn. So it's really, we need to be quite kind of disciplined and restrained with our verbal expressions when we train or shape behaviors. And if you just look at where we differ from the dogs, it's just, I mean, we have memories, the dogs have memories, but we cannot use verbal cues or verbal expressions to kind of recall things from the past. We might do that with each other. We might say, hey, remember when we went to that restaurant and we had that food that was really great, etc., etc. You cannot do that with your dog. I mean, you can, but there's no understanding when you say to your dog, like, remember when we went for that walk and you met that other dog and you had a great time? Obviously, that doesn't make any sense to the dog. It's just all you do, you just give attention and you engage, and at the end of the day, you reward what's going on in that context. The same with kind of when we kind of look into the future and predict, so the past and the future, like when we go and say, well, if you come tomorrow to my place, you take this road and you take that road and then you make a left and a right, and then 100 meters down by the big signage, there'll be my car and meet me there at 5. Same thing doesn't obviously make any sense to a dog. Why? Because dogs, they live in the moment, they learn in the moment, and they really learn second by second. And it might be helpful to look at it like in a picture. It's kind of a snapshot in time when the dog learns. So, for example, you teach a dog to sit. The dog learns if it sits in front of you. Maybe you pull some food up. The dog bum goes on the floor. You give it some food. So that's what the dog has in mind when it starts to associate sit or that gesture with bum on the floor and basically a pleasant experience with some food or some praise. If you then take that same picture, like dog sitting whatever, a meter away from you, you are standing, dog is sitting, you administer food. That's kind of roughly what the dog has in mind. If you then try to do the same thing 5 meters apart, it most likely is not going to work. You might say sit, and what's likely going to happen, the dog might just walk close to you and sit then, because that's the picture it learned. So if you want to kind of have the dog doing a similar behavior at a distance, or you change the picture in another way, that you change your position or your behavior, or you add distractions, that's all a new aspect. So basically we need to shape new pictures which incrementally get the dog to, let's just say, sitting 5 meters away. But we need to do that slowly, and we need to kind of extend that association so that the dog gets the same meaning at a distance, let's say, or with distractions, or with a longer duration. Another thing which is so common, and probably you've all heard that, so let's just say a dog has toilet problems and is pooing inside. what happens? We come home a bit later, we see it, the dog is there, the dog might be asleep or might be somewhere else, and then we make a big drama. We play up. We might, what are you doing? Come back here, I show you, and you get the dog over and you show it the poo and you show the dog and you point and you get angry, and then the dogs go, oh my god, yeah. So, but what's happening? The dog is kind of picking up on your demeanor and your energy, and gets a negative association with what? With there's a poop in the room, I'm in the room, and you don't like that. It's not about the actual behavior. It's not about the dog actually pooing inside. It's about the fact that there's a poop, there's a dog, or there's poop in the dog, and then you come in and you get upset. So we can't, go back and tell the dog off for doing the thing in the first place. What you create, then you create a negative association with poop in the room and dog in the room, and then what's likely going to happen is that the dog will do it away from you, where you can't see it. And if you don't believe me, what you can try, go to pick up a poop from outside, put it in the room with the dog, and the dog will most likely go, because if it had a negative association with that in the past, that'll most likely carry on. So what we really need to look at is that the dogs learn by association, and basically they learn through experience, through pleasant and unpleasant consequences of an action or behavior. Dog sits, great, food. The dog jumps up at you. If you start petting the dog, every time it jumps up, it most likely is going to do it again. And even so, if you get excited and the dog jumps up, or you behave similarly, that all kind of encourages the dog to carry on, because it's kind of a pleasant response to the act of jumping up. If you would just completely stand still, for example, and not look at the dog, eventually the dog would give up, because it's not necessarily unpleasant, but there's no response, so I stop. Or you could give it an unpleasant experience by maybe giving a tug on the collar and carrying on and walking on. So that's really the main thing. We learn by association and through unpleasant or pleasant consequences to an action. So that means if we want to use words to communicate with our dogs, we need to establish a communication system, a real simple communication system, so that we can let the dog know, that's great, that's pleasant, that's not great, that's unpleasant, basically. And if we have those kind of words and we give meaning to them, then we can effectively shape behavior with those words. But kind of particularly in training situations, we need to restrain, as I said initially, we need to restrain ourselves from talking or using other words, because that's just adds confusion. But I'll look at kind of how to establish a proper communication system, a verbal one, in another video. But I guess what you need to take away from this video is just basically about that there's a place for talking a lot, which is basically when you're not training, when you just want to hang out with a dog and just do your own thing. But please be mindful of talking when, well, don't do it when you're training your dog, or when you want to create boundaries, or basically when you want to give feedback to your dog around that's pleasant, that's unpleasant. You don't need many words, you just need a couple of markers, behavior markers. That's all you need to effectively communicate, and we'll look at that in another video. Thanks a lot, and I talk to you soon. Cheers.